Quill. Peter Quill, wake up.
Holy crap, Drax. You gotta stop doing this, man. It's weird.
We are approaching the quarantine zone.
Hello everybody, Rusted Ground here. Welcome back to another review. This time we're talking about Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. This is an action-adventure game developed by Eidos-Montréal and published initially by Square Enix. I say initially because as of February 2023, the publishing rights have transferred to Eidos-Montréal after the studio was acquired by the Embracer Group.
Gamora, take care of my baby.
It's a ship, Peter, not a child.
Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy is a story-driven game. Think Mass Effect, but without the side missions. The story is linear, and there are no side quests or loyalty missions to take you off track.
Aw, hey little guy.
The game starts off with Star-Lord and company heading to the Forbidden Quarantine Zone to capture a rare monster which they intend to sell to Lady Hellbender. Lady Hellbender, we find out later, is amongst other things a collector of rare creatures, and she also pays very well.
You are free here.
It's a seemingly simple fetch mission, but in true Guardians of the Galaxy fashion, things don't go smoothly as Peter picks up this yellow gem and accidentally releases an unidentified alien entity into the galaxy, and that's where it all starts to go downhill.
Man.
That's concerning.
I want to say from the start that I am a fan of the movies. I didn't really know much about the Guardians before I saw the movies, and I actually think the actors portraying each character have done a great job. So I was a bit reluctant going into this game and seeing a new cast for these characters. But I have to say that after finishing the game, I really like this cast. I particularly enjoyed Peter's personality in the game, mainly because in my playthrough, he is always an optimist. See, throughout the game, you get to respond to conversations by choosing an answer or an option to continue a conversation. My Peter was always the guy that tried to keep the team together, diffuse all the conflicts, and just keep everyone's spirit up. And I really like that you get the option to somehow shape Peter's personality with these answers.
Team Rocket, is everything okay? Our signal just went dark.
His radio must have broke when he fell.
What happened to your timber companion?
Group just took a different path. He must have fell and broke his radio.
From a gameplay perspective, each of the Guardians has their own abilities, but you only control Star-Lord. You do get to use the other Guardians' abilities in and out of combat, and it's a system that, although is well put together, I wasn't a big fan of. So, the way it works is, each Guardian has a set of up to 4 abilities that you get to unlock throughout the game. And during combat, you cycle through these abilities. The problem is that most of the times it feels like you're only using your teammates' abilities while ignoring Peter's. This makes the combat feel a bit strange at times because you just sit back and spam your team's abilities. There are also these finishing prompts that pop up whenever you get an enemy to a certain life percentage or stagger percentage, and once you click a button, it goes into a finisher animation where you can dispose of the enemy. Similar to like God of War, for example, where Kratos gets to do a finisher move. But the prompts don't apply to all enemies, and sometimes you might be too far away from the enemy to actually use it. So for me, overall the combat wasn't the most enjoyable. Another thing that I need to mention here is the enemy variety, or I should say the lack thereof. There are not a lot of enemy types in the game, and after a while it gets a bit repetitive. The game does have some boss fights which I found entertaining and challenging at times, but if we're talking about the average enemy, there isn't much variety there.
Okay, that's
A true monster.
The game is structured into chapters, and most of the time, in between chapters, you get to have one-to-one talks with your team. Throughout the adventure, you also get to find certain items that open up conversations with your teammates, and you get to find out more about their past and their personality.
I don't know if you know this, but my dad is kind of the king of Spartax.
I know.
You do? I mean, You do, of course you do. You're you.
Yeah, and it's not exactly a secret.
There is no loyalty system in the game, but you do get a sense that after each of these conversations, the relationship between Peter and his teammates does take a step forward, and this is mostly shown in the way they interact with Peter during missions, what they say, and the way they speak to each other even.
So, this is the thing you had to do? Come to the observation deck to look at the rift?
No. I came to honor the memory of my family. They died without meaning or honor.
The game also features an upgrade system where you get to upgrade Peter's gear and weapons. The system is very light, however, and I actually managed to get Peter fully upgraded quite fast.
What
Come. Join me. If I intended to kill you...
As this is a narrative-driven game, you can imagine there are a lot of cutscenes, which some people might find annoying, but I really enjoyed.
Wow, okay, that is a cool trick. Wanna explain how you did it?
Sorcery.
Visually, the game looks very good. The characters are rendered in high detail, and each place you visit has its own distinct style and atmosphere. I also have to mention the sound design and especially the soundtrack. This is actually one of the things that I really liked about the movies, Peter's Walkman and his choice of music. This game doesn't disappoint either, as it features a mix of classic rock and hits from the 80s and 90s, and to me, the music in this game is great.
Gardeners of the Galaxy?
What? No. Rocket!
So I let Groot fill out the paperwork. I fixed it with an addendum.
Not the most well-known heroes you could hire, but definitely in the top 5 of most awesome names.
I spoke earlier about the combat system in the game, but I actually forgot to mention one of the standout features. So while fighting, you build this huddle meter, and when it's full, Peter gets to form a huddle with the other Guardians and basically inspire them to fight better, or in some cases just piss them off. The huddle is this little moment out of time where Star-Lord and the Guardians talk about the situation while the enemies just, I guess, wait for them to finish. You have to listen to what the Guardians say and then choose between two options to inspire your team.
Whoa, dudes! You guys are totally out of tune with each other. Because you're focusing on the wrong thing. Fun doesn't come from flying solo. It comes from shredding them up in perfect harmony, together. Who's with me?
Wise words, Peter Quill!
Do this!
If you choose the right thing, you basically give everyone a damage boost, and that always comes in handy. So yeah, that's kind of where I am with the game. I think the story is great, the characters are really well made and fleshed out. The combat system is a bit iffy for me, but overall I had a great time playing through it. In terms of replayability, I don't think there is much there. When you finish the game, you do get to unlock the Game Plus mode, but the only reason why I would think anyone wants to play through this game again is to maybe collect or finish collecting everything. I personally managed to collect about 80% of all collectibles in my first playthrough, and overall this took me about 20 hours of gameplay. When I say collectibles, I'm referring to, of course, the items that generate conversations with your team, but also there are a bunch of outfits that you can find in the game. But all of them are quite easily found, and like I said, I found most of everything in my first playthrough. But yeah, as a conclusion, I really enjoyed my time with Star-Lord and the Guardians. And I would definitely recommend this game, especially if you're a Guardians fan, but not just that. If you're looking for a good story with a well-made set of characters and relatively easy gameplay, I think Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy fits that bill perfectly. Thank you very much for sticking around till the end. If you enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, consider subscribing to the channel. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Why do I feel like I'll regret this?
No, come on, when have I ever... You won't regret it. Promise.